believe hore matla a content a go contexting ya yona. So the way I address you today may not be how I address police, because police deal with criminals. You deal with people you must prevent from being criminals and breaking the law in the future. So the context is different. So I'm going to talk about the difference between mindset and attitude, because a whole lot of people think these things are the same. If you ask them what is attitude, they'll tell you attitude is mindset, it's how you think, and it is not. Based on the research that I've made, and as well the contemplation that I've had on the two concepts of mindset and attitude, I realized that they are not the same. And understanding the difference will cause you to be effective in performing in terms of those two concepts. So mindset, it's your thinking style. It's how you think, and it's informed by a lot of elements: your upbringing, the environment you are exposed to, also the associations, the people you keep around you. That informs the thinking styles that you have. And in order for me to know what thinking style you use, I have to engage you. In other words, I can't tell you your mindset before I can engage you. So after engaging you, that's when I will know how you think and what informs your style of thinking. But when it concerns attitude, attitude is not mindset, but is the spirit, the influence, and the force behind the mindset. That's why really you can smell attitude from afar. Am I right or wrong? Am I right or wrong? You can tell whether a person has a negative attitude or positive attitude before you even engage them. Because attitude doesn't take engagement for you to know what kind of an attitude does the person have. You just need to have a sense of deriving the attitude of the person through being sensible to how they are thinking beyond the thinking style. That spirit, that influence, it's intangible. It's incorporeal. You can't touch it. You can't point to it, but you can feel it and you can smell it. Hemo to Akena inside the room, you can tell already through their facial expression what kind of attitude they hold. Okay? When you go into the bank and you meet the teller behind that glass, you can tell their attitude by how they are rendering service to you. Even before you know how they think, you can tell what is the attitude behind their thinking style. Does that make sense? So even before you get into a relationship, don't ignore, especially the young ones, don't ignore that element of attitude. Because that is what will be perpetuated throughout the relationship. And that's why a whole lot of people who ignore the signs from the beginning, they suffer the consequences in the future. So you picked up this attitude, but you chose to ignore it and let it go. And you committed to the relationship. In the future, later on, you find that the person you are with is abusive, physically, emotionally, and otherwise, because you ignored those signs. So in the context of a workplace environment, there are two forms of attitude: positive attitude or negative attitude. There's no neutrality. You can't say, Mr. Baloyi, now I'm not positive, even I'm not negative, I'm just neutral. There's nothing like that. You are either positive or you are negative. Now say this after me: positive attitude is the substratum of peak performance. Which means that now, in order for you to perform at peak or to be a high performer at work, you need to have a base of positive attitude. Because positive attitude unleashes your full potential and capacity to perform. But when you have a negative attitude, you are caging your capacity to perform. Nobody can be a high performer with a negative attitude. And negative attitude is informed by a whole lot of things as well. Number one, it could be longevity. You've been in the space for long, and you have been doing the same things over and over again, and you feel that you are not sufficiently rewarded. That can cause you to develop a negative attitude, not only towards your space of work, but towards your colleagues as well. Have you met people, when you greet them in the morning already, they show you attitude? In the morning, before you do anything, dumela ma'am, yeah. Yeah, or they keep quiet. Why? their attitude does not allow them to be flexible. They are rigid. So they are comfortable in a false comfort zone. Sometimes in life we think we have arrived and we have made it because we are measuring our achievements with the ones who are behind us, not the ones who are ahead of us. So you build a 2-roomed house, you finish it with aluminum windows, you put the modern door. It looks beautiful, but your room is surrounded by shacks. So everyone from the shack is celebrating you as their champion. And that causes you to relax and be complacent and say, I've arrived, because everybody says, I'm good and I've achieved success. But let's take the very same 2-room, which is being celebrated by the people who are below you. And let's place it amongst the houses in Polokwane. Those mentions that you see as you're traveling to Joburg. You will feel like a nurse in a doctor's conference. Because the successes of the people who are ahead of you expose your incapacitation. So if you want feedback of your performance quality, you don't judge it against the people celebrating you from below. You judge it against the people who are ahead of you. And that's the mistake we make. You are producing 50%, which is average performance, it's mediocre, but you think you are excellent because Ronava told me 5%. Roshapela matsoho. So Oscar Padiso go roshapela matsoho. Check out matsoho a shapwa ke mang. Because that is the greatest error that we commit in life. And the person celebrating you actually perpetuates your status quo. You are unable to grow, you are unable to develop. You end up camping at a level you were supposed to have passed a long time ago. And there are people who are supposed to be students, but they present themselves as mentors. If I repeat, I can miscall, let me read that. There are people who are supposed to be students, learning from others, but they already present themselves as mentors. Why? Because the people they surround themselves with, they celebrate their mediocrity as excellence. So the people around you, and you reach the level of complacency and false comfortability, and you realize, oh no man, I've arrived because Samuel Baloyi once celebrated. But let's remove Samuel Baloyi from the equation. Amongst the people who have really made it, you'll feel depressed and stressed because you realize, oh no, you haven't done anything yet. So I'm here to encourage you to say to you, you are not here to make friends. Because another challenge you go to below saying important, important. It's not important for you to make friends in any space. But we make that very important that it replaces important things. The important things we are supposed to do and engage in, we no longer engage in them because we have friends to please. So you are pleasing the friends at the expense of character, integrity, and reputation. So you're fighting battles that don't belong to you. Just because Samuel Baloyi who hate you want to join the game and hate on him. As always needs. Just because you've got Samuel Baloyi to make heavy. So that is misdirection of energy which is supposed to be invested in your personal development. Remember, development and aging are two different things. We are naturally aging or growing old, all of us by God's grace. But when it comes to development, it's an act of intentionality. You wake up with intention to grow yourself. So sessions like this one, you are supposed to have come with a notebook and a pen. Because you are development conscious. You are intentional about your growth. You know, even if somebody does something wrong before you pick up the lesson from the wrong they've done so that you avoid doing the same wrong that the person has done before you. But why do we have people who are bitter at work? Bitter for reasons known to themselves. Bitter to an extent that they cannot even respect leadership because they don't see themselves in the position of leading tomorrow. Remember the law of reciprocity. It says what you do unto others will be done back unto you. Unfortunately, it's a principle that you cannot change. It's a principle that is universal. Wherever you are in the world, the seeds that you plant will produce after their own kind. So the fruits you enjoy or the fruits that are bitter to your mouth are as a result of the seed you have chosen to plant at a certain point. So two things, Ketabua, two things from this book, which I wrote. I've written 12 books, by the way, because I'm intentional about my development. I'm intentional about leaving a legacy. I don't want to die a non-entity. I don't want to die and the only thing you write about me is that he woke up, he ate and he died. There should be something of quality that makes the next generation to want to know about me. We should remember you even after 10 years because of the inputs you have made in our lives. So this book is about perennial legacy, eternal legacy. If you are not legacy conscious, you leave a vacancy. And vacancy means by the time you exit the school, because you never left any good steps for others to follow. So you were more of a liability than an asset. Liabilities always withdraw value but add no value. Liabilities withdraw value but add no value. From today, you must add value to me. Withdraw value. So this book is about the biggest question that is asked in work, at work, funerals, churches. What are you leaving behind? Most of us, we just hear this question and we take it light. But it's the greatest and the ultimate question you can ever have in life. What are you leaving behind? Your lifestyle, your conduct, your inputs must determine the outputs you leave behind to be enjoyed by the next generation. You must influence people from your grave. Otherwise, you are useless. Dreamers Never Die. It's a book about dreams. If you don't have a dream, alarm. Because so you must have a big picture before. I don't care your background. I don't care how much you earn. I'm not here for that. But I care about the size of your dream. How much are you dreaming? Are you relaxed because everybody around you is relaxed? Or you still have your dreams to materialize on a daily basis? That's very, very important. Therefore, if you have a dream, you must check your character. Because character can either sabotage your dream or boost your dream. Your mind is your mind. It's a book about mental capacitation. If you don't think well, you can't live well. Dilodiet are wrong in the head before anywhere else in your life. If you are not mentally capacitated, I can give you a 1 million rands now. You'll squander it like it's valueless and you'll appear on I do it. Because mentally you don't have the capacity to handle the million. So your mind is your mind. In other words, there are treasures that are stored up in your mind which you must access. And when you find them, you start living the life of wealth. Because your value and wealth does not emanate from what you drive. It emanates from what drives you. Gets a sense? Because some people will think you'll be valuable and you'll appear worthy the day you have a car. Because you think what you drive adds value to you. It doesn't. Because that thing can be lost, can be broken, it can catch fire and be destroyed. But your value emanates from your internal makeup. So, koloi kaba entle kamonte, Mercedes Benz thing, it's formidable. But the engine, if it's dysfunctional, koloi haitama. So how far you go is dependent on the health of your engine. Gets a sense, like we see now. Right spectacles, no obstacles. It's a book on perception, how you perceive life. How you perceive life will determine the reception that you get out of life. In other words, life will give you as you perceive. If you look at yourself as a poor person, you start talking like a poor person, behaving like a poor person, dressing up like a poor person, relating with people who are like you. But if you perceive life differently and you see yourself as a wealthy person, you start living that now, even without the resources that qualify you people. Get a sense? So here it's already spectacles. Gentsweka frame lens. The lens is customized for my eyes, not your eyes. If you borrow my set of lenses, okasi boni clear mon na ke bonang clear. Oka faila mon na ke pasa. So ona le batho go spanning ba aparang di spectacles tsa batho ba ba. O bona dilo ka mahlo a batho ba ba. O lwana dintwa tsa batho ba ba. Because mahlo a hao ha bone. Ke mahlo a motho o mong a bonang through mahlo a hao. Then this one, it's a relevant book as well. It's called Unflappable, which means to be cool, calm, and collected under crisis. Now, crisis, it's an event that you don't plan for. You don't even anticipate. It just comes and happens. Tomorrow, you might be facing crisis. So the most important thing is for you to have a contingency plan. Contingency plan is to prepare yourself for events of life which you don't expect to happen. If South Africa was better prepared for any form of pandemic, we would have managed COVID-19 better. No. Mara is sharply because we were not prepared. We didn't have a contingency plan. How many of you are married or how many of you are in relationships? Now, if in the relationship you don't think about breakups and divorce, it means you don't prepare for them. And that's why when they happen, you want to kill yourself. Because you were never prepared for the contingency. So like told power your contingency plan is to prepare for things that you don't want to happen in your life. But should they happen, you are better prepared to be taught and to counter them. Gets a sense? Yeah. So if there's anyone interested in the books, my books I sell them 280 each, but Kodikolon is at 250 each. Which if you don't have money now, you pre-order. So you just write your details, take the book or the books that you want, and then you can pay at a later stage. I can later stage I can work at June, between April and May. I can run out which date to invest in knowledge. Black people must start investing in knowledge. Hakibu we saw just because I'm better educated than you. No. I've invested in knowledge over time to write 12 books. It's because my bank of knowledge is full. And that's why I have to release it into a pen and paper to capacitate the next generations. But it's some talent I was challenging schools principals last time. 2 minutes, I'm done. I'm going to talk about the program for the schools. And I said to them, some of you are 40 years in the education space. And when you retire, it's done with you. So when you go to the grave, all the wisdom of 40 years into the grave, which was supposed to be a wisdom that other people can learn from, even after you are gone. So don't be lazy to jot down. You must have a diary where you write your daily lessons. Those things can turn out to be a book tomorrow, which you can leave for the next generation. So on the programs that we have for the school, I have currently a program which I've already rendered in the other schools. It's called Team Synergy, Staff Development and Motivation Workshop. We can't talk about low results year in and year out, but never intervene, have an intervention program to counter the results. Otherwise, we'll end up being comfortable with failure. When I never being comfortable with failure, it's because there's nothing you are doing to deal with the issues study relationships are. Sometimes the problem is with you. You can't have 10 guys leaving you in 1 month. Problem is away. You must check yourself. It's either you are too much embracing to people, that people take advantage of you. So there are things that you might have to do. So in that program in Tate Rapolu, we talk about attitude consistency. Because there are people who came into this school, banally positive attitude, but they've changed today. Because there's no consistency of attitude. We talk about human relations. I guess sometimes we step on each other's toes because we are not perfect beings. But we don't know the dynamics of reconciliation. How do I go back to the person I've offended and make things right? We just sit there and say, if you're not And then from there you are working in an environment that's enemy infested. And you can't unleash your full potential in an enemy infested environment. And the last topic that we deal with is work ethics. You cannot come late to school and you don't run. Eh? You are still walking like you are 10 minutes early when you are late. It means you are not adhering to workplace ethics. Because punctuality is one of the values that are basic in every workplace environment. And punctuality is an indication of excellence consciousness. If you are an excellent person, you become a punctual person. But if you don't have excellence embedded within your heart, punctuality becomes a non-value. So Rekadibua, next time if you want us to do a fully fledged program for staff development and motivation. So how we charge, we will talk, me and you, and the other management. So for those who are interested in the books, I've already mentioned how you can order. Is there one question for me as I'm standing here? Nasser, question or input? If there's no question, it means I'm a good teacher. Over to you, sir, to close the session.
Okay. Yeah, colleagues, I think we learned some of the things. The session was very fruitful and knowledgeable. We will discuss it and we will come back to you. But definitely, we are going to come back. Okari, you are a godsend.
Yes. Do you have any social sites, Facebook or anything?
Yeah, I do have Facebook, I have Instagram. I don't have Twitter. I've got LinkedIn as well. So if you check Samuel Baloyi, you'll find me somewhere. I've got a website as well, samuelbaloyi.com, pareexcellencesa.co.za, so you can look up everything that we do. You are free to connect with us. My number is also in the books. I don't give people business cards anymore. So how regular book a number? You wanted to say something?
Yeah, I wanted to ask, besides those programs that you mentioned, don't you have those ones like the team buildings where we're doing activities somewhere?
Yeah, we do that as well. We facilitate team building workshops where we come and do content presentation and as well activities. The last one we did, it was for Nape Primary School. You know Nape? Yeah. So you can check with them as well. We did it at, there's a lot somewhere, I forgot the name, but we're facilitating that team building. It's just that I don't want to talk about the main programs until you become confused. But there's a lot that we do.
All right. Can we